Bosky. So we'll start with position 4. Bostick, you still there? Or you still in NC1?
I'm finally done.
Okie dokie. You were just BC'd on something.
What? What?
You were just blind copied on something. All right, here we go. We will start this off with position 4. Calvin Coley, 23 CP 220423, 652 days without indictment as of June 7th. There's a $20,000 good bond. And from what I understand, well, Bostick will go, there's another open case that he just pled on another case in May, was sentenced to 12 months probation.
16 cycles, 2012 robbery, contributing to delinquent and crossing guard line, open case 24 PI 000942, act assault, prohibited item by inmate, FTN 22, unauthorized possession by inmate in Cobb 8923, 221 days confinement, 4 years, 114 days probation. In Cab, ag assault, simple battery, 2822, 18 months confinement, 6 years, 6 months probation. There's interference with government property. That's on that other case. That's found by a convicted felon in 2018. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Showalter.
Okay, so Calvin Coley, he is 32 years old. If released, his address will be 143 Hillsdale Drive, Atlanta, Georgia, 30315. He would be there with his mother. He is an Atlanta native. He's got his entire family here. He has a GED. He was previously working at the Georgia World Congress Center as a cook. He has that available to him. He's been speaking with them, but also he is looking to get a CDL. A friend of his runs CDL classes, and they're pretty much waiting on him. They would like him to start working for him. So on this charge, it is a $20,000 bond, and considering his long incarceration and that he does have ties to the community, he does have things he's looking to do, places to be, place to stay, I would ask the court to lower it to a $5,000 bond.
Ms. Dorsey Jones, have there been any victim contact?
No, Your Honor, has not.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Judge, I believe Madam Pretrial's rendition of this criminal history spoke a lot for itself. 2009 robbery, 2010 robbery, contributing to the delinquency of a minor, multiple drugs with intent, a 2022 battery upon a pregnant victim. This Mr. Coley is an extremely violent person in nature, and his history reflects that he is likely to reoffend and will remain a danger to the community. For that reason, Judge, we would ask that the bond stay at $20,000.
All right, we got no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Sir, you're going to have a 24-hour curfew. You will stay at your house unless you have court, meetings with your lawyer, medical appointments, or work only. But you have supplied the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. No further contact with Raymond Strozier. I'll make it a $15,000 good bond. I'm going to put this on my email to Ms. Willis today. Thank you, sir.
And Your Honor, may I make an announcement on position 5 and 11? This is Attorney Guest. It's my understanding that position 11 has been indicted in position 5. Just wanted to confirm that had been closed. I believe it was merged into an open case for Mr. Swanson. Is that your understanding as well, Your Honor?
Right, transferred to McAfee?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, well, that concludes my matters with the court. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good one.
Thank you, you too.
Marietta, do y'all have heat and air? Y'all have air? It's cool in there? All right, let's see. We don't have Cobb yet. All right, let's see. We'll take Marietta position 1 real quick. That's James Crooks. So it's 24 PI 003078, 96 days without indictment. There's a $17,500 split bond as of May the 6th for burglary of the first degree, theft by receiving stolen property, possession of drug-related objects, possession of cocaine with intent to distribute, possession of methamphetamines with intent to distribute, and possession, manufacture, distribution, sale of marijuana. Wow. Go ahead, Bostick, you're on mute, and I did not mute you.
Hey, nap it. I was almost done. Okay, start over. 6 arrests in Missouri, felony drugs in the 90s, 2 in New Jersey, 4 in Texas, a felony escape in 04, 13 in Georgia, DUI in 2019, terrorist threats 2016, battery, family violence 2016, drugs in 02, open case 23, CP 218647, ag assault, nothing further.
Right. Go ahead, Ms. Zafarasi.
Judge, I'm sorry. What case was this for?
This is Crooks.
Oh, okay. Judge, he has been accepted into that program that I sent you guys out in Macon County. That's really the program we want him to go to. He's 43 years old. He does have family that lives here in Atlanta, Georgia, but like I said, he'd be housed in that program in Macon. He's been in Georgia since 1999. He moved here for work. He has family here, his dad, his brother, his son. He has a 16-year-old son that lives here. He is a high school graduate. He has his AA in applied science. He also went to the Everest Institute and he got a certification as an electrician. At the time of his arrest, Judge, he was working. He was working in Atlanta Auto Bistro, and it's on 4th Street. And he's a details cars, cleans them. He also does food delivery jobs, and he's been doing that for 5 years. So he has stable income, Judge. He does need to work in Fulton County, though, so we would request there not be a stay away, at least for the exceptions for work. And Judge, we do have some substance abuse issues. That's why we have the program. He wants the program. There are some things that came out in probable cause hearing. I'm not going to get into great detail about it, but essentially, Judge, a lot of this falls on the testimony of a co-defendant. And my understanding is the co-defendant who's on video that actually committed the burglary. Mr. Crooks was nowhere near the actual incident of the burglary. So, Judge, we're asking for a total bond not to exceed $50 total. He has a friend that's going to come up and post the bond for him and drive him to Macon. But like I said, to the program directly. But if you feel more comfortable, I can do a transport order to the program too, Judge. But really,
Right.
we want the bond to decrease. I would ask for signature, but due to this burglary charge, we can't. But we need the bond to go down, Judge, because we have a program ready to help him with some of his issues. So that's our position.
How long's the program? Because it says he can't work while he's in the program.
I think it's they're typically 6 months. I'd have to confirm with my social worker, but he's going to comply with the program first and then go back to work after that, Judge.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Judge, the letter that was sent out by Ms. Zafarasi says that the program is 12 months. And as you stated, it says that he wouldn't be allowed to work during that time. The state would be highly opposed to reducing this bond down to $50. Mr. Crooks has a very extensive criminal history. Ms. Bostick just summarized that for us. An extensive history of charges that are similar to the ones that are here on the calendar today. Mr. Crooks is extremely likely to reoffend, and he's an extreme danger to this community. While the state acknowledges and is grateful that Mr. Crooks was kind of conditionally accepted into a program, as it does say that barring any unforeseen circumstances and based on availability, he will be welcomed. I wouldn't consider this necessarily an acceptance letter. It also doesn't have a signature at the bottom where it normally would have one. And so the state would not accept this as an end-all be-all acceptance letter that would require some type of $50 bond on a case such as this one. For that reason, the state will request that the burglary, if anything, be reduced to $2,000 from $2,500, $2,500 on the theft by receiving stolen property. There appears to already be a UJR on the possession of drug-related objects. We would request a bond to stay at 5,000 on the possession of cocaine with intent, 5,000 on the possession of methamphetamine with intent to distribute, and would consent to keeping the UJR the same on the possession of marijuana.
All right.
And
We got,
just I would ask you to look at those amounts of the drugs alleged. We're talking 2 grams, 2 grams, and 8 grams of weed. We're not talking about a huge amount. I just would point that out. And I got that letter from my social worker. She got it directly from the program. If Your Honor would like a signed, that's what they emailed us. But if you would like a different letter signed by them, I can provide that within the next day, Judge.
all right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons, no further contact with Donald Gray, your co-defendant. No further contact with the alleged victim, Neil Patel. Stay away from 275 10th Street Northeast in Atlanta, Georgia. Must participate and complete in the rescue mission program. So I think it's a 6-month program. And while you're in the program, you got to stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court, lawyer, or to see a doctor. That's the only reason you come back to Fulton County. And once he's completed the program, Ms. Rossi, send me a bond order and I'll allow him to come back to work and stuff, okay?
All right. You understand that, Mr. Kirks?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so for the first 6 months while you're in the program, she's not gonna let you come back to Fulton. So you gotta find a different job out there in Macon, okay? And then after 6 months, once you complete the program, judge says we can modify and you can come back to Fulton to work, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Well,
Okay.
it says on the letter that he's not allowed to work while he's in the program.
So you probably can't work either way. You probably work through the program anyways, okay? A lot of
Yes.
times, judgeless programs, you work with the program, and that's that's how you feed yourself for the housing that they.
Yeah, okay, because it just says, what does it say?
That's probably no third party work, but he
Yes
will
or
be
no?
working with the program usually. That's how they.
Well, you can do
Right.
whatever the program has you doing, but you can't go get a job, all right?
Yes.
All right, let's see. Supply your address where you're gonna be going. Ms. Jackson, what's your position on have them transport?
I'll leave that in the discretion of the court judge.
All right, we'll let Rescue Mission transport. So if you send me a transport order, I'll sign that. They'll transport you directly there, sir. We got 2,000, 2,500, UJR, 2,500, 2,500, and UJR. Best of luck to you, sir.
Judge, what's that a total bond of? You went fast. I think I missed someone.
2,000, 2,500, 2,500, 2,500. So that's 9,500.
Okay, 9-5. All right. Thank you, Judge.
All right, best of luck to you, sir. You can lay the
All right.
boot. All right, Irvin Alexander. Position 6, Gibson. So we got position 6 is 24 PI 003071, 96 days without indictment. Right now, there is a $3,000 good bond as of May 3rd on possession of scheduled controlled 2 substance and theft by shoplifting. Pre-trial. You on mute, Bostick.
11 cycles. Couple of no felony convictions, a couple of misdemeanor theft by shoplifters in 2022. Open case 24 PI 001984 for theft by taking. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Gibson.
Yes, Judge. Mr. Alexander is 39 years old. He has been in custody for 96 days without indictment. And as pretrial stated, he has no felony convictions. He has family in North Carolina. However, he's lived in Atlanta for 6 years and has developed lots of connections and friendly relationships here. He moved here for work. He works for North Star Moving Company. It's out of Florida, but Atlanta was more central, which was the reason that he came here, so that he could be, somewhat close to work and close to family. He works for multiple moving companies out of Atlanta as well. He has 2 children in North Carolina. He also has a grandbaby who should be about 6 or 7 months old by now. He would love to get out and meet her. He got his GED in 2001. He did a semester at Granville Community College. And as you can see, his bond has been at $3,000 and he's not been able to make that for 96 days. So I will be asking for a considerable reduction, considering the charge in this case, I will ask that Mr. Alexander's bond not exceed $500.
Is he gonna live in Fulton County when he gets out?
He will live in Fulton County, Judge, because this is where he works, and he can get all of those jobs back where he's working with moving companies in the area.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Judge, Mr. Alexander does appear to have quite an extensive criminal history. He's got multiple shopliftings in Georgia, but most importantly, he's got a pretty extensive history in North Carolina, which include similar thefts, some drugs with intent to distribute, and some obstructions. For that reason, we do believe that Mr. Alexander is likely to reoffend and would be considered a considerable flight risk, considering he has open cases in North Carolina from just as recent as 2022. For that reason, and based off the facts alleged in the warrant and the basis of what is alleged to have been stolen, the state would consent to decreasing the bond. As to count one, we would consent to going from 2,500 to 1,000, and as to count two, the theft by shoplifting, from 500 to 300.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 3535 Peachtree Street. That's the Target. You have to stay away from all Target stores. You cannot go into a single Target store all over this country. So I got 1,000 and 100. Best of luck to you, sir. Let's see. Is Cobb there yet? Not yet. All right. Let's see. Do we have Khalil Garrison? Oh, and Miss Gibson, make sure if you folks have anybody that's in over 90 days, you too, Miss Sofrossi, tell your office to email Mr. Dukes, not somebody's been in 20 days, like over 90 days that we need to hear on a bond, okay? So pass it on. All right, let's see. Mr. Garrison, wave your hand. All right, we got position 2, Bostick 24, PI 003153, 94 days without indictment. Right now, there is a $1,300 good bond as of May 6th for burglary in the first degree, criminal trespass, misdemeanor obstruction, and loitering and prowling. Pre-trial.
Judge, in regards to Mr. Garrison, he has a hold for probation violation out of Lawrenceville, 11/29/23, out of Canton for probation violation, 10/25/23. Open case for ride in a penal institution out of Fanning County, 7/19/23. On probation, criminal damage to property, theft by taking, 2/13/25 years. First offender, there's a DUI in 23, a couple of FTAs, 23 and 21. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Dobbs.
Thank you, Judge. The bond for Mr. Garrison is obviously on the lower side at this time. However, because of those holds mentioned by pretrial, he's not eligible for any bail assistance whatsoever. Of course, one of his charges is bail restricted, at least one, which is the burglary. Judge, what the warrant states, what the allegation is regarding his burglary charge is that he was entered a empty dwelling to charge his cell phone. I understand that allegation is a felony allegation. It is a allegation of illegal activity. But as far as a burglary goes, and as far as a felony goes, I would posit to this court that it is on the lower end of the criminal spectrum. Mr. Garrison moved here with his brother about 2 years ago. If released, he would reside with his brother at on Lexington Drive in Lawrenceville, Georgia. He is largely unable to work because he has various problems caused by a bad car accident he was in 2 years ago. Judge, I'm going to ask for a significant reduction on this case. He currently has a $1,000 good bond along with 3 $100 good bonds. Because of the nature of the offenses as well as the amount of time that he has been in to this point, I am going to ask for the $1,000 bond to be reduced to $300 through the sheriff's 10% program, and that the 3 $100 bonds be converted to the sheriff's 10% program. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Judge, can you tell me how many days Mr. Garrison's been incarcerated?
94.
Okay. Judge, there are a couple FTAs in this case, some charges on the calendar that seem to be pretty similar to what we have. I do agree with his attorney, Mr. Dobbs, based off the nature of this case, the state would go ahead and consent to Mr. Dobbs' request.
So was that 500 you said, Mr. Dobbs?
I said a conversion on the 1,000 to $300 through the sheriff's 10% program, and a conversion to the sheriff's 10% program for the other 3 bonds. Thank you.
All right. Sir, you can't come back to Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see Mr. Dobbs. That's the only reason you come back to Fulton County. Am I clear? Give me a thumbs up if I'm clear. Absolutely. All right. Don't run out of gas. Don't stop to get lunch. No drugs unless prescribed. No alcohol. No weapons. No replicas of weapons. You can't have any contact with anyone that's employed at the Twin Gates apartment. And also stay away from Twin Gates apartment, 25th Street, which should be fine because that's in Fulton County and you're not coming back here. So I'll do the 300, 100, 100, 100 through the sheriff's 10% program, and UJR, let's see, so we're gonna make sure, make that level 2. I mean, make it to the level 2. Through pre-trial. So 300, 100, 100, 100 through the sheriff's 10% at level 2. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth.
Are they all through the sheriff's 10%, Judge?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. May I please be excused?
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
You too.
Do we have, let's see. No, we don't have Cobb yet. Let's see. Okay, what about Damian Arsenault? All right, Mr. Arsenault. All right, position 7, 22 CP 211273, 264 days without indictment. There's a $5,000 good bond as of March the 12th on theft by receiving stolen property. I guess pre-trials on it and they came off. Pre-trial.
Mr. Arsenault, 4 cycles, misdemeanor CWAC, sentence 2/7/24, 12 months, 24 SC 000521, ag assault on a law enforcement officer, theft by taking firearm during. 24 SC 00533, theft by taking reckless driving, entering auto criminal trespass. Maybe they changed it because there's a 533-01, theft by taking reckless conduct and obstruction. All assigned to Judge Edwards, nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Gibson.
Judge, 1 second. Mr. Arsenault is 21 years old tomorrow. He has been in custody for quite some time, unindicted and on some pretty high bonds. He does have a good address at 3806 Makeover Court, which is the address on file with the court. He lives with his parents and 3 siblings. He has a twin brother and 2 younger siblings that he has been missing for quite some time. He works at Amazon and DHL. These are both jobs that he could get back because he was working at both of them for about 3 years prior to being arrested. He graduated from Grady High School, which is now known as Midtown High School. He has court next week, I believe, on the other cases, and he is looking to get those wrapped up with Miss Rondon. He also has completed the Chris 180 program, and when he is released, he will be reporting to the At Promise Center as part of the Chris 180 program. He will receive mentorship and continue in the Chris 180 program as an older adult. He goes to church at Limitless in Fayetteville with his family, and he also has 1 daughter who's 2 years old that he's looking to get back to. Judge, we would ask for, again, a considerably low bond in this case, not to exceed $500.
So where's he going to live?
3806 Makeover Court, Judge, with his parents and his 3 siblings.
Is that in Fulton County?
That is in Fulton County.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Judge, the state would be opposed to a $500 bond in this case. It looks like Mr. Arsenault was originally accepted into diversion and failed to appear for his diversion. I didn't have a recent criminal history, so I thought maybe there was just some time that lapsed. But it sounds like based off pretrial summary of the history, During that time, and he didn't report to diversion until he was picked up. It was because of a rendition of a lot of new charges, most of which seem to be violent in nature. The state is aware and acknowledges the amount of time that Mr. Mr. Arsenault has been incarcerated. However, based off of his history, the fact that he's 20 years old and has 4 cycles, all of which appear to be pretty violent, the state is going to request that the bond only be reduced to no less than $3,500.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 7994 Ella ELLA Lane in Fairburn, Georgia, and no contact with Raven RAYVEN Cullen CULLINS. And no further contact with Shadrack Dugan SHADRICK DUGAN. And sir, you're going to have a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, employment, but you have to supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. So you must continue with the Chris 180 program and participate in the, is it at promise?
Yes, Judge, he completed the Chris 180 program. It's at Promise where he will report to for like mentorship.
All right, report to the at promise program and participate in that. $3,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir.
And Judge, before we move on from that, my notes from Ms. Dorsey say that the victim is present in court. Can we just do a call to make sure that they weren't here?
For Cullen or Duggan?
Ms. Dorsey, do you know which one of the victims said they'd be here? I don't think I see either on the call.
They didn't show up. They just,
Right.
they just wanted me to relay the message to the judge.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, you could lay the booth, sir. Do we have John Kevius Anderson? All right, position 10, Bostick, 23 CP 219715, 488 days without indictment. There is a $240,000 good bond as of March the 12th on ag assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and reckless conduct. Pre-trial.
Judge, 6 cycles in custody on no bond on 23 SC 189724, capital offense, felony, capital offense, 6 counts, criminal attempted felony, Don Woody, 23 SC 1911797, burglary, theft by taking a criminal trespass, Don Woody, then 21 CR 005022G, carrying a concealed weapon, revolver under 18. He has a hold also in College Park. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Gibson.
Yes, Judge. Mr. Anderson is 20 years old. He's born and raised in Atlanta. His entire family and community is here. He lives with his aunt and cousins. I have that address. I just am not able to locate it in my notes at this point in time, but he does have a good address. It is in Fulton County. His mom and dad also live here. However, he does live with his aunt and cousins. His parents are in Atlanta. He has 4 sisters. He graduated from Life Christian Academy in 2022. He has a son who will be, actually, he turns 4 today, who lives with his mom. His son's birthday is today. And he was working at the McDonald's in Union City. I believe he could get that job back as well as multiple other jobs. It has been a considerable amount of time that he's been in on this case and a considerable amount of time that he's not been indicted on this case. So I would ask that this bond be reduced not to exceed $75,000 aggregate.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Judge, the state would be highly opposed to reducing bond in any amount in this case. And because the defense has filed a motion for reconsideration, the judge does have the authority and the discretion to raise the bond in this case. The facts of this case are quite egregious, particularly when speaking of a 20-year-old man. The facts of the warrant allege that Mr. Anderson got into a verbal altercation with another 19-year-old boy, went inside of his house, grabbed a semi-automatic pistol, and got in the backseat of a car, riding around the apartment complex, shooting into the buildings. Multiple buildings were hit. Many buildings with children inside were hit and reported to the officers. The defendant was seen by witnesses actually firing the shots, and photo lineups were conducted with eyewitnesses to point out the fact that Mr. Anderson was the one in the backseat of the car firing the shots. Based off the criminal history, he has 6 cycles, 5 of which are in Fulton County. Again, Mr. Anderson is 20 years old. His criminal history started in 2021, and since then we have 6 cycles, almost all of which are open, with the exception of one that's under first offender right now. 2021, carrying a concealed weapon, having a gun under 18. It gets progressively more violent from there. 2023, aggravated assault, burglary. 2023, capital offenses with entering autos and tampering with evidence. As I stated, all but one of these cases are currently open. For that reason, Judge, the state would highly oppose reducing this bond. I did not catch how many days Mr. Anderson has been incarcerated, but I'm certain it's nowhere near the amount of time that the state has to indict this case now that Mr. Anderson does have a bond. For that reason, the state will request that the bond not be reduced, and if anything, the court raise the bond. As stated, it's currently set aggravated assault $125,000. The state would request that the court consider raising that to $200,000. Possession of a firearm or knife during the commission of a felony is currently set at $40,000. The state will request that the court consider raising that to $60,000. And as to reckless conduct, which was set at $75,000, a considerably high number for such a charge. But whatever court set this bond initially thought that it was extremely serious and should have an astronomically high number. And so we would ask that that stay the same.
All right. It looks like there's no bond, but there's some sort of August date in front of Judge Dunaway for the capital case. So there's no bond on that. So you're not getting out, sir, because there's no bond on that. All right. So we've got no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons, no further contact with first name Shako, last name Huggins, Huggins, first name Shaneika, Huggins, Tanila, Tanilah, Bird, Zarecia, Drake, Zrecia, Drake, Amos Smith, and Alicia William.
And Your Honor, I did speak with 6 of those victims, and they did want me to report that they are afraid for their life, and they oppose bond at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I skipped right over you.
It's okay, and I also want to say that Felicia Mike, Myke, she is the property manager of a property on Godby Road. She asked that he stay far away from that property and away from her as well.
And what's her name?
Felicia, last name Myke.
Okay.
And
Also add that Felicia, Felicia, last name Myke. No further contact with her. So stay.
Prior to setting the amount, I'm not sure what you're about to do, but I would just like to note that this was not a motion for bond reconsideration. It was a motion for bond reduction. So I don't believe that the court can increase the bond, as it is only a motion for bond reduction.
All right, so stay away from 2135 Godby Road, that entire apartment complex, no social media, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. That also includes inside the jail, if you ever thought about, which I'm hopefully you haven't, any type of weapon there. All right. And if and when you get out, you're going to have a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, and medical, the only reasons you can leave your home. And if you change addresses, sir, you need to send that address change into your lawyer so that she can file that. But you're going to live in Fulton County, so right now you can stay in Fulton County, but you're staying at your house. So I'll do 100,000, 30,000, and 50,000. 100, 30, and 50. Best of luck to you, sir. And Miss Dorsey Jones, you can obviously let them know that the capital case, there's no bond, so he can't get out anyway.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
so, real quick, I just wanted to ask, can we just put on there that the stay away for the victims be as reflected in the warrant? Because there were a couple of names that got a little jumbled up. when we read them out, so they'll just be spelled out the way they are in the warrant.
Okay, so you can put that and any victim spelled out in the warrant, Mr. Dukes.
Okay, Judge.
All right, let's see. Do we have Deshaun Atmore Maida? All right, so we got his position 8, Bostick 23 CP 215673, 561 days without indictment. Right now, there's a $45,000 good bond as of 3/12/2024 on battery, substantial physical harm, and aggravated battery. Wow.
His other case that was on the calendar was indicted 24 SC 003518 to Judge Edwards. There's a hold in Marietta for probation violation. 3 cycles out of New York. There's possession of contraband in a prison in 2016. There's a prior robbery in New York. He's on probation for aggravated assault, criminal damage to property, 11/27/23 for 5 years. 8 cycles in Georgia, FTA and 23 on probation also for terrorist threats. 12/16/22, 1 year confinement, 2 years probation. Nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Miss Gibson.
Yes, Judge. Mr. Atmore Metha is 26 years old. He is originally from New York. However, he's been in Atlanta since 2018. He has also been continuously incarcerated since December of 2021. He was in Cobb County and then was transferred January 2023 to Fulton County. He has been in for 561 days, and on the case before you, it has been 1,101 days since the actual incident. It took the state of Georgia quite some time to draw up warrants on this incident. And it's been a long time. And Mr. Atmore Metha is, I heard pretrial state his Marietta case for a probation hold. He is actually in Cobb County for that probation hold right now. He is not in Cobb County as a Fulton County inmate. He's there handling that probation hold with attorney Corey Bowles. He will be handling that under what we believe to be a time served sentence next week. And just to get into a little bit of Mr. Atmore Metha's life, his girlfriend, Sade Curtis, is on the Zoom call right now to support him. She and Mr. Atmore have been living at 2000 Monroe Place, apartment 710, Atlanta, Georgia, for the past 6 years. And he did a year at Morehouse where he studied business marketing. He also works at Hendricks Interior Design Firm. He was there for 3 years and he can get that job back. He knows the manager. Sade also works there. They have a daughter together, Amalia. She is 2 years old. Mr. Atmore has not yet been able to meet her in person, and he is looking forward to the day that he gets to meet his baby girl. So we are asking for a bond to be set in this case, since he's been in 561 days without indictment, not to exceed, I'm trying to see what it is right now. Judge, we would ask that say that again.
It's 45,000 right now.
Judge, we would ask for the bond in this case not to exceed $10,000. I forgot to mention that Mr. Atmore is from New York, but his family has all since basically moved to Georgia. So he has a good support system here, in addition to his girlfriend, his daughter. He has a brother in Buckhead. His mom lives in Smyrna, and another brother that lives in Douglasville. And everyone is ready for him to get out and become a part of their family again. So I would ask for the court to consider that and not set the bond beyond $10,000.
Can you contact Miss Dorsey Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. I did speak with the victim and she stated that she opposed bond at this time. She also stated that she's afraid for her safety and she's afraid for the safety of the community.
All right, go ahead, Miss Jackson.
Judge, I can't emphasize enough how much the state would oppose any type of decrease in the bond for Mr. Atmore Metha. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to review these warrants, but they are one of the most egregious that we've had on our calendar. The facts allege that Mr. Atmore Metha was a passenger in his girlfriend, Sade Curtis, who is on the line today. He was a passenger in her vehicle. Her vehicle suddenly stopped and her car was rear-ended. At that time, Mr. Atmore Meta jumped out of the passenger side of the vehicle, went up to the victim's car, opened the door, and beat her profusely, striking her over 20 times in the head, face, and chest. Her teeth were broken. She had a black eye, facial swelling, bodily bruising. Mr. Atmore Meta then fled on foot, and his girlfriend, Sade Curtis, went and made contact with the victim and then fled on foot as well. The only reason Mr. Atmore Meta was even caught to be charged for this crime is because his girlfriend then went to the police station to inquire about the vehicle that they had left behind. When she went to go inquire, the officer looked into Miss Sade Curtis's name and noticed that she had been a victim in countless domestic violence cases where Mr. Atmore Meta has pled guilty or been found guilty, and she has been the victim in all of them. A quick rendition of the history as stated by Madam Pretrial. There are multiple FTAs. Mr. Atmore Meta has violated almost every bond. He has violated multiple conditions, many of which were having contact with victims in his case, particularly Ms. Sade Curtis. 2020 aggravated assault, battery against a pregnant female, obstructing the 911 call. 2020 battery family violence. 2020 battery on an unborn victim. All of these with Ms. Sade Curtis as the victim. 2021 interference with government property, obstruction, multiple thefts. His bond was previously revoked because he failed to stay away from Ms. Curtis. He has New York violations, robberies, and keeping in mind, Mr. Atmore Meta is only 26 years old and was 23 at the time. I understood Ms. Gibson saying that he's been in jail for all these days, but she was straight to say that it's not all on this charge. He's been in Cobb County handling issues that were not even the ones that I just listed as a part of this history. For that reason, the state would be highly opposed to this being reduced. OCGA 17-6-1, Section B or Section 3 says that once a defendant has a conviction for a violent felony, then there's no conditions. It can be presumed that there are no conditions that this court could impose, no conditions that Your Honor could impose that could keep this community safe, that could keep a victim safe, that could stop a defendant from reoffending once released. And for that reason, and against Ms. Gibson's argument earlier that a motion for a bond reduction is any different than a motion for a bond reconsideration, the state will request that this be raised from 15,000 to 30,000 and to 60,000 from 30,000. Thank you.
All right, let's look at one thing here real quick. All this. Or do you know off the top of your head if any of these sentences says he's not supposed to have any contact with Miss Curtis?
I would imagine all of them, Judge.
I mean, post-sentencing, he's not supposed to have contact.
I'll be happy to check. There's a 2021 battery family violence, battery on an unborn child. Those are misdemeanors, so those would be 12 months. Even if they were consecutive, I don't believe that would still be in effect. But Ms. Curtis is on the line today if the court needs to hear from her.
All right, let me see. I got this one pulled up from Judge Schwal, so I'm trying to see his, because he was sentenced in 2023.
Correct.
7 years to serve on the ag assault, 2 years of credit for time served, balance of 5 years on probation, criminal damage to property, 7 years to serve, 2 years credit for time served, balance of 5 years probated. The battery against the female and hindering, that's 12 months. All run concurrent, and let's see. 1 second. What is?
Judge, the disposition just says no further violent contact with Sade Curtis.
Thank you, because mine was taking a minute to pull up. I was like, they always decide they're going to work on Odyssey while we're having court. All right, let's see. No further contact with Nico Young, Niko Young. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. You're going to have an ankle monitor, if available, paid for by the county. Even if that ankle monitor is not available, sir, you're going to have a 24-hour curfew. And the absolute only reason you leave your house is court, meet with your lawyer, or to seek medical attention. That is the only reason that you leave your house, period. Let's see. What else I got in here? So it's been 561 days. So only thing I'm going to do here is it'll be 10,000 and 30,000. Best of luck to you, sir.
I wanted to say something, Your Honor.
I'm pretty sure Ms. Gibson don't want you to say anything, but Ms. Gibson. Ms. Gibson. Hold on. Ms. Gibson, what do you think?
Sir Atmore, I would advise
It's
you not.
nothing pertaining to my case. No details about my case.
Okay.
88 Jackson mentioned that I had a conviction out of New York for an armed robbery, which I got a youthful offender status for, so she was never even supposed to mention what my conviction was. I have a youthful offender status, which is sealed, which every time I ever had a hearing, a bond hearing, anything, they never mentioned it. They always mentioned that it was a youthful offender status. And that kind of violated my whole youthful offender status by you even mentioning that I had an armed robbery.
Well, sir, believe it or not, that doesn't even really matter to me. What matters to me is all the cases you have against Ms. Curtis, and obviously this where you put this lady in extreme danger. So,
I didn't put nobody in extreme danger. Those are allegations.
Mr. Atmore.
we're just gonna go ahead and mute him. All right, you can leave the booth, sir. Best of luck to you, Ms. Gibson. I'll include that in my email.
Judge, I just want to clarify, you did not reduce the bond in that case, correct? You maintained it?
No, I gave him 10,000 and 30,000, so it's down to 40.
Okay, I thought it was at 40, but I
It
must
was
have
at-
misheard.
It was at 45.
Okay,
Because
okay.
15 and 30. Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Pass it on to your to Ms. Rondon and stuff. Anybody over 90 days, you guys get back on here.
Okay, I sure will. And that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
All right. The last case we have is Ms. Sofrossi's case. So it is Wayne Mulder, Moulder, position 324 PI 003101, 96 days without indictment. There was a consent bond May 24th of $20,000 on armed robbery. Wow.
Mr. Mulder, 5 cycles, open case 23 SC 189864, ag assault, probation. Sentence 3/12/24, 2 years, then open case 24 PI 003684, false statement, false report of a crime. Nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Sofrossi.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Mulder is 20 years old. We do have a good address for him. Lithonia. I never pronounce it right. I think it's Lithonia, Georgia. And he's had the address for 7 years. Lifelong resident. Whole family is here. Tragically, his mom just passed away in April, Judge. I'm sorry, not in April, in June. His mom just passed away in June, and then his godmother it was her best friend, and so kind of like a mother figure, auntie figure to him. She's now in the hospital. She, as well as Mr. Mulder's sister, is trying to come up with the money, but they cannot afford the $20,000 bond, Judge. But he has family, he has a support system here. He was enrolled in the CAB GED program in Stockbridge. It says at Stockbridge. He was employed at Amazon at the time of his arrest, but he knows the manager, and so he thinks he can get his job back at Amazon. He worked in the warehouse. Judge, we do have some MH issues here. I do want to point out the case that there's the probation, that's the first offender case. He has to deal with that as well. The other case that was served, the false statement case, they served that case after this case. So it's not a situation where he was out on this case and picked that up. They just served that case later, Judge. And
Okay.
that case is not holding him. The only thing that's holding him right now is this case. It's my understanding, the one before you. Judge, also a little bit about him while he's been in the jail is there's been multiple jail. They've had to move him, not because he's the aggressor, but because he's getting attacked in the jail. Most recently, he was stabbed and assaulted in the jail, Judge. I think this is kind of contributing to also his mental health issues that I sent out to you. I didn't want it to get out to everyone, otherwise I would have included Ms. Jackson, but since it's cat's out of the bag, Judge, he's on suicide watch. That's why he's not here today. He indicated to me that he's afraid he's going to kill himself. And so that is why we have him on suicide watch. And I don't appreciate the head shaking to that either, ADA Jackson. It's a serious matter.
Stick to your legal argument, please. Thank you.
So, Judge, because of that, that's why he's not here before you. He's a young kid. We waived prelim. We didn't even have prelim. We waived for the bond. He can't make the bond, Judge. We've been here this long. I'm asking you to take it down to 10,000. He's gonna have his sister, who is an adult, and he's gonna have his godmother when she comes out of the hospital, God willing. But he has other family here that's extended family. Those are just the prime people who would be able to actually pay and support him. But he has that here, Judge. So I'm asking you to bring it down to 10, please, so we don't have another death in the Fulton County Jail.
All right. Go ahead. Any contact with the victim, Miss Dorsey Jones?
Yes, they are asking right now that the bond be denied, Judge, for the safety of themselves and the community.
All right. Go ahead, Miss Jackson.
Judge, it does appear that Mr. Mulder is 19 years old. He's picked up a pretty extensive criminal history in the last 2 years since we started counting his adult history. He's got a 2022 terroristic threat, which is a felony. As Ms. Safarasi stated, he's got a 2022 aggravated assault and robbery that was sentenced under first offender, I believe, just earlier this year. He's also got a 2023 terroristic threat that's been charged as a misdemeanor at this time. We do believe that Mr. Mulder is an extreme danger to this community, and he is likely to reoffend based off of his history. The state acknowledges the issues that Ms. Safarasi just stated about potential MH issues and things that he's dealing with at the jail. However, I mean, quite frankly, the issues at the jail are not a persuasive argument as to why he should be released or why he would have preference over anybody else on this calendar who is incarcerated at the Fulton County Jail. If Ms. Safarasi has some plans or some next steps on some MH treatment that we can get for Mr. Mulder, the state would be more inclined to work with her on getting him released to that treatment. As Your Honor can see from Odyssey, we just did a consent bond on this where Ms. Safarasi or whoever was representing him at the time agreed to the 20,000. So it's not like the state has been unreasonable in trying to get him a bond. And if I remember correctly, the preliminary hearing was waived so that Mr. Mulder could get a consent to a bond. So again, it appears that the defense and the state are working very well together to try to get this case moved along. But as far as just reducing the bond willy-nilly so that he can be released, the state opposes that. He's very dangerous. He's a danger to this community. He's likely to reoffend. He has multiple open cases. All of his cases are violent. And so the state would request that this stay at 20,000.
All right.
Judge, all his cases are not violent. False statements is not a violent charge. Even terroristic threats is not a violent charge if it's charged as a misdemeanor. So I would object to these calling those violent. He has one open case that's violent before you, and the one conviction he's under first offender for. And he'll deal with the first offender probation when we go up to probation on that one.
Is that all set for hearing?
I don't Breonna Bray represents the probation judge, so I don't know, but I will get him on a calendar if he's not.
Okay. So let's see. No further contact with Jelani, Jelani Tate, Tate. Stay away from 2471 Old National Parkway in Atlanta, Georgia. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. If they put him on medication, Miss Safarasi, send me that order for the 30-day if he happens to be on medication at some point in time.
Okay, Judge. As of right now, I don't believe he's on any meds, but as you know, he's with the doctors right now.
So if they put him on some, you can send an order to release him with a 30-day supply, and I'll be glad to sign that. Let's see, no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. He's going to stay out of Fulton County. The only reason he can come back to Fulton County is court, lawyer. If he has further MH follow-up with Grady, he can come back for that. Any MH follow-up unless they have him somewhere else. So that's the only reason he comes back to Fulton County. And let's see. And he'll
that shouldn't be an issue because he doesn't live here. So
yeah, okay. And he'll have a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, but he has to supply the name of his employer, proof of employment schedule, in the exact location he'll be working. So, Ms. Frosty, I'll reduce this to 15. You could reach out to whomever, and they could see what they could do. I don't know if it'll
reach out for what, Judge?
To Mr. Royals, Mr. Hutchinson, I don't know.
I will, Judge. I have better luck with other
So,
ideas.
with the, right, yeah, so that'd be $15,000 good bond. And Ms. Safrazi, I'm gonna email everybody with the number of days like I always email the state. Would you like for me to put the caveat about, your client in parentheses for the higher ups at the state?
I don't think they'll do anything about it, Judge, to be perfectly honest with you. So I prefer not to, because I don't want them to use that against him.
Okay, I got you. Okay. All right. Thank y'all. Have a good evening. Looks like that's it.
Hey, Ms. Paparazzi, do you have a phone number? Can you send that to me in the chat or can we talk offline?
Not
Sure.
everyone.
I'll send you my cell phone number. I'll email you my cell phone number right now.
I don't even have
Okay.
it, Miss Jackson. Good for you.
I'll send it over.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Have a good evening.